Hey everybody, I'm here tonight with some attenders of River Valley Church, the awesome Stephen and Tabitha Perry, and we're just going to do a little call tonight, just check in, see how they're doing. They're a couple with some young kids and probably facing a lot of the same struggles that many of you are right now, of trying to bring two work lives into a home, navigate that with kids and marriages and quarantining and trying to stay safe and do all the right healthy things right now. And so I asked them if they would just do a little webcam with me tonight and have a conversation about how they're approaching some of these things. So Stephen, Tabitha, could just do a little intro. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. I'm Tabitha, born and raised in Juneau, Alaska, moved to Anchorage and met this guy here. And we've lived in lots of different places. We were in Texas before here, and we've lived here for about a little over a year now. We came to River Valley the first Sunday that we moved to Minnesota, and we just fell in love with it. And we've got two little girls, 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, that definitely keep us on our toes.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm a life coach and a stay-at-home mom. I am figuring out what that balance looks like.
I always refer to her as the brains of the operation because she's got her master's degree in social work.
Oh, yeah.
But she retired for a few years and is now back in the workforce.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm Stephen. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. Lived there for 21 years. Moved to Lubbock, Texas, which Pastor Anthony was asking. This is the Texas Tech Red Raider shirt. One thing I picked up while I was there. And we moved up to Minnesota back in February of last year. Yeah, so it's just been just over a year. Went to the Crosstown campus. The second week the new campus was open, and I've been there ever since. And I'm the managing partner of the New York Life Insurance Company operations for Minnesota.
Awesome. So you guys got a pretty full plate going on with your lives, and key people at our campus, actively involved, serving on weekends, involved in life groups, all those kind of things. And I sent you a message today, just a little short text message just saying, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And it was interesting because, your response kind of triggered, this conversation. And so I'm just going to read it out to you, back what you said, because it was nothing bad, but it was great. It was really intriguing to me. Tabitha, you said, Stephen and I are working together to make this time a positive experience for us and our kids, which I love. So you're taking the time to make it positive. We've had to have some uncomfortable conversations about expectations now that we're all together 24/7, but we're thankful we have God to lean on and each other. And I couldn't help but think when you said that, I wonder how many people aren't having uncomfortable conversations with their families or husbands and wives that would actually make this time easier. So I want to know, I'd like to ask, would you be comfortable unpacking some of that uncomfortable conversation in the hopes that it might actually help other people? I mean, that's what you do, Tabitha. You're a life coach. You're always trying to help other people. And so how can addressing the uncomfortable actually help people navigate this kind of time that we've never seen before?
Yeah, sure. And the whole idea is that you're not going to grow unless you're uncomfortable and unless you lean into it. And so we found ourselves today really frustrated at each other. And we knew that we couldn't continue this on because it would just blow up. So we took the time to have a conversation, and really what it came down to was I had a script in my head of this story that was happening, and he had a story that he was telling in his mind, and we can even get specific. It was about food for our kids. In my mind, I'm not sure how long this is going to last. And I grew up a little bit poor, and so we had this scarcity mindset. We had to ration things. So I saw him giving out a certain amount of food, and to me, I was like, oh, he's being wasteful, and I was getting all mama bear angry. And what he was doing is he was actually rationing too, but it was in his perspective of rationing. And so we actually had to come together and talk. And I'm like, I'm so frustrated. Like, can't you just like give the kids less and just see what they eat, and then we can like continue on? And he's like, I was doing that. And I was like, oh, that was your intent. Okay.
So both of you had the same bullseye, but it
Yeah.
was just that it was
different.
it was just how you were achieving it was different.
Exactly.
What was
Interesting.
what was triggering for me, and I think for a lot of us, this is going to expose how selfish we truly are. But Tabitha made a very benign comment of, "Hey, can I make a suggestion?" And like I instantly felt myself like kind of bristle up, because I was in the middle of making breakfast. Here I am, this amazing father who's making breakfast with their family, total self-sacrifice, servant leadership for sure, putting toast like in a toaster. And she's, can I make a suggestion? And instantly, like for whatever reason, like no, I got this. And I didn't even know what her suggestion was going to be. And so as we're talking through, like what was it about her suggestion that got me so frustrated? And obviously it's, the last 4 days of uncomfortableness and just constant change and isolation. But what I realized was that I'm now experiencing someone telling me what to do, which in my world doesn't happen.
You're the boss.
I get to be the boss, and as good as that is, I'm now not the boss, and
nor am I, and nor should I be telling him what to do either.
But it was that I didn't have control. Someone else was telling me what to do, and that just how selfish and prideful that was kind of bubbling up, which didn't even matter how logical the conversation was going to be, but it was that almost mental hijacking that takes place, that you can't even get to the real issue. So,
so is that what forced the conversation? That just that little thing?
Just that little thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So did you? So first question: did you have the conversation with the kids around, or did you wait until they weren't around?
So we started out having the conversation with the kids around, and then we realized that wasn't getting us anywhere because they kept interjecting. And then, of course, they see that we're tense. And we don't hide all of our disagreements in front of our kids because we want them to see what healthy, like, problem solving looks like. But we knew this was going to be more drawn out. So then we eventually had them go down to the basement, and then we were able to have more conversation. So it was two pieces. And I think people really need to be aware that it's okay to stop a conversation and be like, okay, we need to pick this up at another time when it's a safe place that we can actually go through all the emotions. You don't want to wait too long. You don't want to forget, but it's okay to stop and wait until it's just a better, more comfortable place, because it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. I think Americans, we just don't want to be uncomfortable. But again, how do you grow unless you are uncomfortable? So there's lots of other discomforts.
So what was the resolution of that uncomfortable conversation? Like, what did you arrive at? What conclusion?
I think it was basically the realization that like normally it'll be like, hey, and this is me, like I don't want to have this conversation and get in a argument or a disagreement or a fight, which my version of that is a pretty benign event. Tabitha is like, that wasn't even close to a fight. Like, what are you talking about? Well, like I have like he has certain hours. I'm open for hours on like when we can have those disagreements in real life, like not before work, because I don't want to have that on my mind the whole day. After the kids go to bed, but not after 9 o'clock, because then I can't go to sleep. Like, and so we kind of have this specific time. Well, now all bets are off, and we kind of came to this realization today from that, regardless of what the disagreement is or what the issue is, like there's no reason not to handle it right now. And kind of a funny aside, but a real practical application. What paused the conversation was she was like, well, are we going to talk about this right now? And I said, no, we're not. And like that upset her. She left crying upstairs. And so she leaves and I'm like, oh gosh, that was a big mistake. And then, so now I'm trying to think like, why did I say that? And the funny part is because it was 8:56 and church started at 9 and we had to go to church at 9, which was going downstairs and turning the TV on and watching. Like we could go to 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, but I had this specific timeline and expectation in my mind that it didn't really matter, and I sacrificed what I wanted and my pride and my selfishness for my wife's feelings and her feeling loved, which is basically our commandment as husbands. And so then realizing that and realizing there was more going on, that's what prompted the rest of the conversation for me to follow her upstairs. And then
so we went to the 10 o'clock service.
Wise choice. So what did you decide? Like what kind of nuggets did you come up with that you maybe help some other people of how can they navigate these little tensions right now? Because that's what I mean. Marriage is a constant tension to be managed. I mean, there's obviously good, happy times and all those kind of things, but it's a constant tension because it's constant compromise. So what did you come up with to compromise and resolve tension in these issues?
I think maybe not to get too broad, but there is kind of a broad theme right now in like we're used to like sick days from work, and there's a couple day finite end to that. And so you can survive in any kind of new norm for that, and then you go back to your old norm. But what we're realizing, and what I know everyone else is realizing out there, is the habits and the cadence of life. There has to be habits in the cadence of life. It's going to look different. So like, going to the gym, right? So all of us right now are trying to figure out how do we recadence that and not just toss it aside, but we still have to do that. One big thing for us is parenting. Like we have had to own that we've got some deferred parenting that we've done that, we've tolerated stuff for a couple hours a night or a couple days on a weekend that we're stuck with for the foreseeable future. And so we need to have,
because you hadn't dealt with it in the past, you kind of just let it go, and now you kind of stuck with it.
Live with it.
Yeah. I think one of the nuggets is we tolerate, and toleration in certain areas is fine, but when it becomes a pattern, that's just ignoring and not actually dealing with it. And so overall, I think we're realizing we can't just tolerate being frustrated at each other. We can't just tolerate our kids acting out. We can't just tolerate that we feel, too lethargic to turn on our computer to connect with church. Like, that's just not acceptable. Like, you have to take a step and address those things, because that's all we've got right now, is to have this new cadence, have this new rhythm in life, and to have this structure. You can't tolerate those things because it's just a slippery slope. It's only going to get easier and easier to push things out of the way. So tolerance, again, like that's just not something that we're going to do. Again, within reason. Also, another nugget is that we're on the same team. Like, I know he loves me, and even when I was like, I want to talk about this, and he's like, no, and I just like lost it. And I went to my room, and I knew eventually he'd come up, because that's just the amazing man that he is. And I knew that we'd be on the same team eventually. But like, that's the foundation that we have, is that I know that we will eventually like connect. And so I hope other couples can realize that like they're on the same team, and that they should love each other, and that when something's said, that it may not, their intention isn't to hurt you. Their intention is probably like, they just don't even know what they're saying. It's coming from a different place. Just like this idea of, I thought rationing looked like something different. He thought it looked like something different, but really we were doing the same thing. So we're all on the same team, guys. When we're married, we love each other.
Awesome. How are you guys balancing staying connected with other people outside your family? Because I've seen a lot of people struggle with this one right now. They're just they're navigating all the same things you're navigating, exactly the same. kids, the tolerance thing, that now we have to discipline things that we should have disciplined years ago. And then husband and wife home together, you're the boss at work, you're not the boss here, we're the boss together. These are common themes. So then how are you fitting in, connecting with other people, like outside of the crazy family unit? You know, how are you doing that?
Well, I think we have kind of an advantage. We were talking about this. We've moved so many times, and we aren't near family, that we've actually already like created this habit where we've had to reach out to people. Most of our family and our conversations have always been on the phone or on the computer. But it's just even more important now to do that, especially keeping up with my parents, making sure they're feeling good. But it's also just like sanity, right? And when our world is so small, things can seem so big. But the bigger you make your world, those things don't seem as big. And so when you know how your friends are doing and you're checking in with them, like it just gives you perspective on your life, and you can add joy to theirs too. Go ahead.
You were really proactive in kind of realizing this was coming, and you created a 21-day quarantine challenge, which you've probably got like 40 people in that now on a Facebook group where
it's been fun.
Everyone sends out an encouraging text message, and
everyone 3 text messages, and you have to send yourself one. And so at the end of the 21 days,
where can people find this? How can they find it?
Oh, it's on Facebook. So it's 21-day quarantine challenge, and it's encourage others and encourage yourself. And so that's been really great. I've also tomorrow, my sisterhood group, Sisterhood Table 3, we're Skyping tomorrow at 9:30. And so if there's other gals that haven't had that opportunity, they're also able to join us. So find me on Facebook too, and I'd love to have you connect with us. And then what other things are we doing?
Well, so I think this is, call it divine providence, the wisdom of the Holy Spirit. So like 3 months ago, I had the idea to start a Zoom life group, and got about, there's 6 guys in there now, and we literally had our kickoff call, which had been scheduled for a month, last Tuesday, right in the thick of all of this, which had been scheduled for a month. And so like we had already had it planned so our next, on Friday, so we've got a weekly life group that is on Zoom. So doing that.
Awesome. Yeah. Love that. Well, that's really cool. Well, thanks for sharing your time with us tonight. Just these little bits just help so many people. And thank you for being open and transparent. I really appreciate it. I'm sure lots of people are going to appreciate this as well. And hopefully some husbands and wives will have some great conversations after they watch this and say, see, we really should talk about it. And we can either do it now or we can do it later. Either one's fine. But actually have those conversations. So thanks for sharing with us what's going on in the Perry household. And if you want to find out more about Tabitha's 21-day quarantine challenge, you can check out her Facebook page, Tabitha Perry. That's Taba. I learnt that. Is that right? Not Tabi. Tabatha Perry. And you can find that and sign up for it, because one of the things I think so important this time is that we don't just encourage our own little circle, but we encourage others outside our circle as well. And so I love that whole concept. So thanks very much, Perry. I really appreciate your time tonight.
You bet.
All right.